Hello, I'm Adam from WorldTeam, and I'm going to tell you how you can help get yourself a conservation job straight after university by becoming a wildlife conservation professional. But before I get into the details of that and why that's important, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that you may or may not have been aware of. The secret is you are not special, at least when you enter the jobs world in conservation, when you're trying to get a conservation job. Your parents may well think you're special, although perhaps they would have preferred if you got a more lucrative career as a doctor or a lawyer. Your university colleagues and your advisor probably think you're special. Oh, that's amazing. Anna's looking into Arctic terns, or Bob's looking into mangroves. Very interesting, very exciting. But when you've left university and you start applying for jobs, you'll soon realize that you look like everyone else. You've got a great qualification in your degree, your master's, or your PhD. You've got a specialist subject, but so has everyone else in the jobs market. You might have some great voluntary experience. You might have a paper you've written that you're proud about, that you put down on your CV. Great, but so has everybody. So when a job advert goes out for, say, work in a conservation NGO, and you apply, you think you're a strong candidate, and you may not even get a response to say, thanks for your application, because when a job advert goes out, there's probably going to be about 200 people applying for that one job, all with the same qualifications, all with the same enthusiasm for getting that position. So it's also very difficult for employers to differentiate between the people they want to interview and the people they don't want to interview. So it's very difficult even getting to an interview stage, let alone differentiating yourself from others that have either written an application or that are being interviewed, if you get that far. So, but you can do something about that, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. To make yourself special and to help you stand out above the 199 other applicants for that job, one way of doing that is to get additional qualification in a key conservation skill that the employers are looking for. So here we have the 5 skills that make up the qualification for being a wildlife conservation professional. You don't actually have to take all of them. You can just pick the ones that you want that match the kind of job that you're going for. Lots of people just take 1 or 2 of these skill sets through our training. But let's go through them very briefly, and then I'm going to go through them in more detail in the coming slides. Project management, stakeholder engagement, strategy development, monitoring evaluation, grant writing. And each of these courses you can do in your spare time. Each of the courses are 6 weeks long, but only 3 hours learning a week. They all end up with an exam. It's a very straightforward exam. It's a multiple choice exam. You can pass it. So they're easy to get done, but they're really essential in differentiating yourself in the very crowded jobs market. If you want to do all 5 and get that higher level qualification, I think that would set you up not just for helping you get an interview and perhaps a conservation job, but also really set you up for your whole career. It'll change the way you do conservation work for decades to come, and be the difference between having a lot of effort put in by you and not being sure about the difference you make, and really making a difference for the wildlife you care about. So it's not, I'm talking about getting a conservation job, but really there's a bigger picture here. These are the skills you really need to make a difference in conservation. But let's go through each one of these in detail, and I'll explain a little bit about why they're so essential for professional conservation work. The first skill you can attain through our training is project management for wildlife conservation. And if you don't take any other training out of those 5 skill sets, I really recommend that you take this one. This is the fundamental skill set that underpins everything else. And it's a skill set that you'll need, whether it's advertised or not, in any professional role. Absolutely anyone. And it's going to make a fundamental difference to how you work. There's one way of working in conservation that I've done and I still see people do, and it's called stressful chaos. Things are happening, your workload is increasing, you're totally out of control, you're working all hours of the weekend, and you're putting your heart and soul into it, and not much is getting done. There is another way. It's just about being more organized. And the project management skill set is fundamentally about being organized, about being able to break down a project from start to finish, about assigning levels of decision making and responsibility to different team members so everyone can work effectively. It's about also fundamentally dealing with the inevitable change that will happen when you do any conservation work. If change happens, you've got to make decisions about whether you carry on as planned or do something different, or even stop the work because it's ineffective. And having this skill set provides you with a process to make those good decisions and progress in the right direction, whether it is making an adjustment or closing the work or whatever. So yeah, this is the number one skill set to get. I really recommend you start with this one and consider the others as kind of part of running a conservation project. But this is the essential backbone of any bit of conservation work. As you know, conservation work nearly always involves engaging stakeholders, those that your work is affecting or could affect, and those that could affect your work in a positive or negative way. It could be a government that you're working with to change policy on wildlife crime. It could be a local community that you're working with to run a behavior change campaign to reduce killing of wolves. It could be engaging another conservation organization that you want to work with. This skill set, stakeholder engagement, will provide you with a really practical, structured process by which you can identify, assess, engage, and manage the relationships with any type of stakeholder. So this is a really good skill set to get because you're basically going to be doing it anyway. So you might as well do it in the most effective way possible. If you want to raise any conservation funds, if you want to be in your career in a position whereby you get to lead on or input into creating a plan about how your work is going to be connected to conservation impact, you need to be skilled in strategy development. And if you're not skilled in strategy development and you end up making plans or writing proposals, you can unintentionally waste years of your life or your team's life and tens of thousands of dollars of conservation funds. Because if the plan's wrong, it doesn't matter if you're a great project manager. You can implement a bad plan really well. You need a good plan to even stand a chance of having measurable conservation impact. And this skill enables you to make those much better plans that are based on the best available evidence and have a coherent rationale between what you plan to do and the change you want to make. It is also, by the way, I find the most interesting and fascinating topic out of the 5 subjects, and it really engages your brain and questions and makes you think about and improve upon what you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to achieve it. So I'd really recommend training in this for anyone that wants to rise higher in the conservation world from positions from kind of lower entry level positions. If you're thinking at all, even in the future, about managing teams or even leading organizations or setting up your own NGO, you need a great plan, and you need to be able to either lead on that or input in it. So this is the training to give you the skills to do that. Monitoring and evaluation is the only way you learn about if your work that you're doing is having an effect and why it's having an effect. Because without that information, you don't know whether to continue or do something different. So monitoring and evaluation, another fundamental skill. And it's all about measuring the change in the situation. And it's also about evaluating if and to what degree the work you've done has affected that situation. So everyone wants to make positive changes for the species or the landscapes that they care about. I was really into tiger conservation, for example. I really wanted to help the tiger population. But until I got into monitoring and evaluation, I really didn't have that feedback loop to tell me how my work was connected or not to make a difference for tigers. So this skill set really sets you up for bringing that feedback into your own work as an individual conservationist, but also if you work in a team, it'll just totally transform the way your team works by getting that feedback and getting that regular info about, are you making a difference as planned? And if so, great. And if not, what do we do about it? And you also need grant writing. Unless you're, a billionaire already, you can't really have a full-time conservation job without being able to fund it. It's probably not going to say it in the job advert, but normally every conservation job, especially in the NGO sector that I've worked in, you might be a program manager or project manager or this or that. It normally always involves you raising money either for yourself, so you can support your own job, or a team you manage, or a wider network of partners that you either coordinate or interact with or support. So whether it's said in the job advert or not, I'd be pretty sure that they're going to be asking you about your grant writing ability. And it's very difficult to get experience in this, especially from university. You might have possibly been involved in writing 1 or 2 grants with your advisor to get funds for your research or research for your lab. But you'll soon find out when you enter kind of conservation world that there's a lot of pain when you don't get a grant funded. So each time you spend a couple of weeks or a month preparing that grant and sending it in, that can be wasted time, or it can be the difference between you having money for the next year and you being out of a job, or your team not being able to do the work that they planned. And there is a real skill to grant writing. It's all about being structured and clear and creating a cohesive story that the donor can understand and links to what the donor values. And this skill set and this training will give you that certification, give you that qualification, to give you that confidence that you could go and write any grant for any type of conservation work. And having this on your CV is really going to show that you're a different type of candidate than others that are just fresh out of uni. So this is a really good skill to get. And whether you get all 5 certifications in each of those key conservation skills, or just one of them, when you pass the exam, which you're going to do, if you just attend the sessions and do a couple of hours study, you're going to pass the exam. You're going to get a certification that you can show people, and you're also going to get a badge that corresponds to that particular skill set. And these can be useful tools to stick on your CV or your LinkedIn profile, and it enables the employer to quickly they're skimming down 100 CVs. They're looking at it for probably less than a minute. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, MS, voluntary experience, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what's this? This is something different than all the other candidates. It'll stand out. So getting the certificate and badge is a great benefit of getting that certification of a particular skill set. Also, by getting certified in just one of our subjects, you get added to our conservation skills directory, so that you're part of this growing global network of conservationists that have the same standardized skills. And it's also a way that employers can check with us that you have this certification, because you're going to be on the map, you're going to be in the database. So it doesn't matter if someone else goes and makes their own project management badge and sticks on their CV. Employer will be able to check, and you'll be either on here or not. And also, in the future, it might be that employers are looking for people skilled in these particular skill sets, and they can use this database and map to find good candidates that are in their area. A good place to start to look into all this a bit more and get more information is our website, www.worldteam.org.uk, and that's got all the info, much more detailed info on the different skill sets that I've described. You can download each best practice for free that the training is based on, so you can see exactly what you're going to be trained in. We can even start using it for free. It's up to you, and we encourage that. And also it lists all the available training courses on there. And there's a few different ways of getting discounts for our training. But also, so that's the training side of things. That'll give you all the skills you need to transition from your academic life in universities to your professional life in a conservation organization. The other thing that you'll need in your career, and is fundamental for both progressing in your career but also making a difference, is being able to collaborate with fellow conservationists. Now, you may know 30-odd conservationists from who you went through your studies with, but you really need to know a lot more than that to create partnerships, raise more funds, and get support. Sometimes you're in a conservation job in a very specialist role, and you're trying to work out problems and create solutions, and it can take you a lot of time doing that, and you can do it by making mistakes, and which takes a lot of time and cash to make mistakes. Or there's probably someone somewhere else that is either working on the same problem or has solved it years ago. Where do you find them? How do you interact with them? All you do is give a shout out on WorldHub. That's an online community of conservation professionals. They're there to support each other. There's no one else apart from conservationists there. There's events, there's job opportunities, there's funding opportunities, there's shout outs for "I've got a problem, please help," or there's everything on there. It's free to join, and it's a really warm, diverse, welcoming place. I really recommend, straight after this video, just joining WorldHub as a first step, whether or not you take our training. So hopefully that's given you a good overview of how becoming qualified as a wildlife conservation professional will help you get that conservation job. If you've got any questions, give us a shout. Our email's on the website. And if you do decide to take our training, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that has helped, as it has done for many others. And the last thing I'll say is good luck. It's really hard getting a conservation job. But if you've got this mindset of you're going to differentiate yourself from others, you're going to get there eventually. So just stick with it, and your dream career really will come true.